NASA Social for the Mars 2020 mission. The countdown is on. Welcome to the second ever virtual international NASA Social, here supporting the Mars 2020 mission with the Perseverance robot, which we have a beautiful 1/10 scale model here, and the Ingenuity helicopter, the first ever helicopter designed for another world. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited. And I'm Joshua Santora with NASA Communication, and I am just thrilled you're with us. I wish you could be here with us face to face, but we're glad that you're joining us virtually for this opportunity. I want to introduce my co-host for this morning's show, Stephanie Plasinski. Stephanie, are you excited to go to Mars?
I'm so excited, Joshua, and we're so excited that you could join us here today for the Countdown to Mars virtual NASA Social. For our first video, we're going to take you inside Hangar AE, the telemetry center of the universe. If you have a question, feel free to leave it in the comments section below, and we may just answer it live during this segment.
Yeah, I want to make sure you guys know, use the hashtag Countdown to Mars, and also follow that as we go through the next couple days. It's really exciting. I want to give you a preview of what's ahead today for our schedule. The power system for Perseverance. It is a nuclear battery, and we have a special guest, Greg Hula, I think is his name. He will be on to answer questions about that. A very exciting time. So much going on, but let's dive right in now to the tour of this hangar video. For those that joined us for the Demo 2 Social, you'll see some things that look familiar, but we got to go a little deeper this time and see more of the behind the scenes of the hangar. Take a look. We're here now at NASA's Launch Services Program's Hangar AE at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Launch Services Program, or LSP for short, is responsible for launching NASA's science missions and robotic explorers, and the Mars Perseverance rover is no exception. In collaboration with colleagues at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and United Launch Alliance, we are counting down to the next evolution in Mars exploration. LSP shares their technical insight of the Atlas V rocket, performs launch vehicle engineering and analytical assessments, and provides operational insight for launch sites as well as at the launch vehicle provider design and production facilities. Inside Hangar AE on launch day, LSP engineers and analysts are also on console working alongside the teams from JPL and ULA to provide real-time technical advice when required. Here at Hangar AE, LSP has hosted pre-launch simulations for the Mars 2020 mission and will also provide their world-class telemetry and communication services on the day of launch. Let's take a closer look. All right, so Jessica, tell us a little bit more about this facility that we're at and kind of what LSP's role is in rocketry.
My name is Jessica Cotter. I am the Mission Comm Engineer for Mars 2020, and we are at Hangar AE, which is located at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. It's actually been a telemetry station since the 60s, and then Launch Services Program took it over in 1998. So the Launch Services Program role is to essentially match the spacecraft with the proper rocket and also provide assurance that it is going to meet its intended locations, including JPL, who actually created the rover in this case. And so we provide voice out to those locations. We also provide video, including through processing. And so I've actually been working with the spacecraft for about 2 years now to go ahead and get all of their video, voice, and telemetry requirements. So let's go ahead and take a behind the scenes tour.
Cool. And so tell me about the sites that we're supporting, because every mission is different, especially based on who your rocket provider is, who your spacecraft customer is. So for this one, geographically, what are we talking about?
So JPL out in California, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. We also have ULA with facilities out here, and also they have a location out in Colorado, in Denver. So there's several different players. We also have people listening in at headquarters, and also we are supporting some folks remotely. So there's just people from all over the country participating in this launch.
Sure. Yeah, definitely a team effort. A lot happening. Let's head inside now. This is the Mission Director Center, and this is I think of this as being like the head control room here. Is that a fair assessment?
So this is actually where management typically sits for a launch, so the Director Center part of that.
All right, so this is a console we have set up. It's I don't know that there's a typical console setup. Is it pretty different based on who's actually sitting at the computer?
So managers are typically going to be listening to more of the voice nets. They're going to be looking at video. They're going to be like basically taking the inputs of their teams versus the engineers are typically going to be looking at whatever system data they have. So like if they're propulsion, they're going to be looking at actual schematics of propulsion, of the wind plot files that we have for them. So it varies a little bit based on kind of the role of that person day of launch.
And so for launch day, what will you actually be doing? Will you be sitting at a console like this, or what's your job?
I'm actually going to be sitting right back there. So typically my role is a mission comm engineer on day of launch. I'm a mission operations director. So essentially the role of a mission operations director is to go ahead and ensure everything's working properly. If we did our jobs right, there shouldn't be anything for us to do day of launch. But typically you'll get people who need some extra voice nets, or like if the console has some issues, then we'll go ahead and resolve those issues for them so that they get the proper experience day of launch.
All right, so there's kind of an overview of the console operation. Let's head down the hall and catch up with Reed.
So welcome to Hangar AE. So here's a little bit of history lesson about the hangar. So Skip Mackey was what I was a long, long time ago. He was one of the first chiefs of Hangar AE. And one of the traditions he started was stickers of the missions he was supporting. So here is Viking. This was one of the oldest missions the hangar supported. So as you can see, we've filled up the front of this door. This is the door that used to be the front of the MDC. So now we got the back of the door. You'll have to come back around here, because one of my favorite stickers to show was my first mission as a communications engineer. Just what Jessica was the Curiosity rover. So this was my sticker. I got to put this on the door. And as we continue to work LSP missions, all the different missions Hangar AE supports, we've slowly filled up this door with all the different missions. We not only work LSP missions, we work Air Force missions, NRO missions, we work the CCP mission for Demo 2. And so we're really busy, and we continue to get busy, and that's because our team is so good. 20 years worth of patches here that LSP has supported and has insight. They not only have insight for a ULA launch, but SpaceX, Pegasus, all the commercial launch vehicles. We have 20 years of experience. So the team here has an exceptional experience in all the launch industry. And so the best way to use LSP and the reason we exist is to lower the risk. In a Curiosity rover, right? Billions of dollars worth of rover. So we, as a taxpayer, we want to lower our risk of that, causing an anomaly. And so that's what this team does, is make sure that we lower the risk to these NASA vehicles.
Cool. Can you show us kind of the guts of the building? Let's take a look inside.
So the guts of the building here is the Telemetry Lab. It's the heart of the hangar. It's how we get all this data. So the cool part about the hangar is we can support 5 launch vehicles all at the same time. And how we do that is this patch panel. This patch panel is all that telemetry. So when we talk about telemetry, it's getting measurements from a distance. So just like you would at the doctor's office, a nursing station in the middle of the hospital sees your telemetry, your heart rate at your bed. So just like that, a rocket has telemetry. They have measurements as it goes downrange. So as you go downrange, you have to have tracking stations. So they're either ground assets, so a big dish looking up, or in space, TDRS. So NASA has a tracking satellite down in space that looks at the rocket. So all of those different sources all come straight into this patch panel. And then we go along here, we record this live. We record this as raw as possible to be able to play back if we have an anomaly. And then as you go down this panel, you can see that it processes that data. So it starts as ones and zeros, and by the end, when an engineer is sitting on console, it is a temperature or a pressure or a gauge. So that's what my team does. Jessica helps get the information here, and then my telemetry team takes this telemetry and turns it into the engineering units. So that is the heart of the hangar. So why don't we come over here and we can talk more about telemetry.
I know you guys are really proud of the fact that you can handle 5 launches at a time. I don't think we've ever had 2 happen at the same time. So certainly, like, I think the day is coming when we're going to need that. Or what's the motivation behind that?
So when we talk about launches, I really talk about powered of the vehicle. So just tomorrow, we have NROL mission up at Wallops. We are getting that data. They're powering on, doing data flows. We have Sentinel, the pad at Vandenberg is actually powering on. We're getting the data for that. And then obviously Mars. So there's 3 right there that we are processing and recording all at the same time. And then obviously you can think easily there's a Delta IV on the pad, and then a Pegasus coming up.
There's a Falcon on the pad right now.
There's a Falcon on the pad right now. So as they power on, we're getting that data. So it might not be the launch, but it might be that the vehicles power on doing any testing, because again, our vehicle experts want to know independently from the launch vehicle team how that is going. So that's kind of what I mean by 5 launches. It's really 5 vehicles can be powered on.
Awesome, Reed. So are you guys ready? I mean, we're just a few weeks away now from launch.
Yep.
AE good to go?
AE is good to go, ready for launch.
I think every time I end up at the hangar, I'm always just amazed because I don't understand all the details of what goes on. But Reed DeVerde, you do. You got a pretty good feeling of what's going on. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
And Reed, while we were filming, you told us a really awesome story about your first mission at the hangar. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So my first mission as the mission comm engineer, like Jessica was in the thing, was a comm engineer for Curiosity. So Curiosity was the last rover, and it was about 11 years ago I got assigned that mission. And one of the requirements for this mission too is we call it de-interleave data. So the spacecraft puts the information about the spacecraft's health inside the launch vehicle telemetry, and then our team actually takes that spacecraft data and sends it to the spacecraft. So that gives the spacecraft assurance that the spacecraft is working properly before launch. And so our system is transporting that information. So when I was the comm engineer for Curiosity, I designed a new system, serial over IP. And that system I tested and tested in the lab and then tested with the spacecraft, all up leading up to launch. And it was the backup, because just like anything, you want prime and backup. So the prime went down about 20 minutes before launch. And the spacecraft came to me and said, hey, our prime went down, what happened? And the NASA launch manager also came to me and was getting nervous about it, and because this was a requirement for launch. And I said, hey, the backup is really good. We've tested it, and we're good. And so the NLM and the spacecraft were like, okay, we're good. And so that was like the most nerve-wracking, and 20 minutes before launch, something goes down is not ideal. And so that's why you build, as a comm engineer, you build prime and backups. And so that's a great story and really got me hooked in being in Hangar AE and why I'm still there now.
So I think when you told us that story the first time, you said that, so the comm engineer doesn't really talk much in a public setting. They're kind of behind the scenes, but I understand you did get called on to actually speak up and kind of verify that you were good to proceed. Is that true? Yeah, so as a comm engineer, your goal is to set everything up, and then the engineers are using your systems. So you really don't want to be talking at all on the countdown. But in this instance, one of our systems was being a big thing. So I had to go talk on a lot of nets that are very public, and you'll probably hear tomorrow, right? Countdown 1 and a lot of the important nets that get publicized. So awesome.
That's incredible, Reed. Thanks for sharing that story. So we're going to take a few questions from social media. We have one from YouTube. They want to know, is Hangar AE an actual hangar, or is it just the name of the facility?
So the hangar, so it depends on what you define a hangar, I guess. There is a big door in the back they used to actually use Hangar AE as a spacecraft processing facility. It's not used that way anymore since I think the 90s was when the last time, or even before that. But now we're basically a control room and a telemetry station for LSP.
Thanks, Reed. And we have another question here. They want to know, why is it so important to monitor and analyze the data coming into Hangar AE?
So there's kind of two folds for that. So first is, right, you're making sure the launch vehicle, the spacecraft, is ready for launch, right? So then the other part of it is other launches happening before this launch tomorrow. So the last Atlas launch, we were recording that launch vehicle and noting any issues. The LSP engineering team was noting any issues that we might dig into for our launch. So it's twofold. One is making sure the launch is ready that day, but then also having the data from past launches to verify that if there's a sensor or anything that looks out of family, you can kind of relate successful launches. And we go back, every single launch that ULA in this instance uses, we have that data, and we can go back and relate other launches that could have had an issue, and we can verify that, hey, this is not going to be an issue, or it is an issue. So that's the hangar's job, is we get the data for every launch that LSP could launch, SpaceX, Pegasus, ULA. We get that data, and it gives that independent analysis to make sure that LSP and NASA is ready for launch.
Definitely. So we have two questions here that I'm going to combine into one. Someone wants to know what's the best part about working at Hangar AE, and can you share parts of your work that you find exciting, rewarding, or challenging?
Yeah, so Hangar AE is awesome because we get to work every launch on the East or the West Coast in the US. So you get to be involved in launches from Space Force to LSP to commercial crew. So that's the exciting part. You get to be involved in history. I mean, in this instance, going to Mars, and we're trying to find life on Mars. I mean, you can't get more exciting than that, right? So that's the exciting part about working in the hangar.
Absolutely, Reed. And I know tomorrow's not only a historic day, but it's also a very special celebration. I heard it's your birthday tomorrow.
It is my birthday tomorrow. So awesome. Yeah, that's exciting too, obviously.
So in theory, we have a nice a firework of sorts taken off for you, a rocket launch.
Yeah, can't get better than that.
Fingers crossed, right?
That's right.
Ready to light that candle. Well, that's it from social media. Thank you so much for joining us, Reed. You were absolutely incredible, as always.
Thank you so much for having me, and go Mars.
Yeah, appreciate you. I'll ask you one last question, just because I think people will find it interesting.
Sure.
Just not taking for granted what's happening behind the scenes, because people love to see the rockets launch. But rockets scheduled for 7:50 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning. What time will you be arriving to be ready for an almost 8 o'clock launch?
Yeah, so my team gets in at midnight. So I'll be getting in around 11:30. We do our checkouts, our polls, to make sure that our team is ready for the engineering and spacecraft team to get on console. So yeah, it's a long night in this instance for all of us.
All right, awesome. Reed, appreciate you. Go get some sleep. Have a good night. And I don't know if I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be somewhere else in the morning. But I know you guys will be doing a great job in making all of the things come together for us.
Great. Thanks for having me.
I want to preview again the schedule for today. Take a quick look here at what's coming up.